Here's a simple sketch I did in Tayasui Sketches of St Ives Bay. It's simple pencil work, hatching, cross hatching, and then a watercolour wash put on the top of that just to make it pop. So let's get into it. This is a typical sketch that you will find in any of my real sketchbooks that I take away with me when I'm sketching with a real pencil, a water soluble pencil, and a pot of water. And this scene is taken from a photograph that I took when I was in St Ives. It was on a tiny little bit of beach that this artist used to frequent, and he would stack up all these stones and make little exhibits, I suppose. And he would have a hat out there or a bucket where people could throw coins in. And I do not know how he made them balance. It was amazing. But the thing was, I guess when the tide came in every night, it destroyed whatever he produced. And then he had to reproduce it again the next day. So a really interesting scene. I loved it. I took the photo, and I've been meaning to do this sketch or painting. I may even do a painting of it, and I've been meaning to do it for ages, and then I forgot all about it. And I was looking through some old photos from a year ago, and I came across this. So I started sketching it in my usual way, where I do a lot of sketches where I just take the pencil and I sort of shade it as I'm going along, and pretty much do a finished drawing in the sense that it's got all the shading in and what have you. But then when I've finished it, I will put a tonal wash over the top of that as well. Things to notice in this sketch are that when I'm drawing the things in the foreground, I press on a lot harder with the pencil to get these thicker, darker lines, which just throws the foreground way forward. And you can see that I'm doing that on those windows now. I'm really going in with a black pencil. So I may have, if I'm doing this with pencils, I'd probably begin the sketch with a 2B. And then when I was doing the foreground, I'd go to a 6B, perhaps, just to get those darker lines in or something like that. So it's a really loose sketch. It's how I like to work. And I find if I do loose sketching, it really helps with the painting as well, because I don't want to get it bogged down with detail. And if I start putting all the detail in the sketch, it's just not going to work for me. So I don't, plus my eyesight's not the best eyesight in the world. I do wear glasses. Apparently I've got pretty good long distance vision, but when I come to put it on the paper, I've got to put my glasses on. So when I'm sketching, I'm looking up and down again, up and down. Bit frustrating. So I like to keep things as loose as I can, really. So you can see I'm sort of doing a lot of cross hatching for the shadows, but I still think that as a sketch it just lacks something. It's all there. It's not all there yet because I haven't finished doing the foreground, but when I get the foreground in, it will be finished as a sketch. But I just think it can be made that little bit better just by putting this wet wash, which you've seen me do several times before. It's a technique that I do a lot, and this to me is what I call proper sketching, where I'm just sort of, I'm not trying to practice anything or develop a skill or something. I'm just trying to create a nice image that I could possibly use as a painting. And I'm just lost in the scene. I'm not really concentrating too much on the shapes. I'm just roughing them in, pretty much not bothering too much about that all the rocks are in the right place or anything like that. It doesn't matter, does it? Although I did lift them up a little bit there. I felt they needed to just go a little bit higher. Not so much to lift it up closer to the distant shoreline, but just to nestle around that sort of bit of a concrete block that's sticking out a bit. That's what that was all about. So I'm just shading in the rocks, putting in the last few ones. By now I'm quite bored with rocks, so I'm getting quicker at doing them and sketching them a little bit bigger, just so I don't have to do so many, really, because I'm beginning to get a bit tired and bored with the whole thing. So sketching that in, and just adding a lot darker shadow on that wall at the front, strengthening up some of them lines just to push all of that forward. So I'm thinking, right, okay, that's it. That's a sketch. That's fine. But come on, let's put some watercolour on. So I create a new layer, choose my watercolour brush, just mess about with it to get the right size that I want before I wade into it properly. So nice big brush, there we go. And then I create a second layer after I've done the sky, or a third layer I should say. I get a little bit of wash on, and then I like to take the eraser and just sculpt away at the edges, make it nice and sharp. Then use the eraser to lift out a few highlights. Again, something you can do with real watercolour. You wouldn't use an eraser though, you'd use a damp brush and some tissue. Create another layer, whack a load of colour, or I should say, or wash on that foreground, and lift out the highlights on those rocks, and all the colour, just lift it away, or the tone I should say, lift it away from around the edges of the rocks. And then we have it, a nice little pencil sketch done in Tayasui Sketches of an artist's work in St. Ives. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, big thumbs up as always is much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I've got lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.